Welcome back, Sethbling here. Has it ever bothered you that Tetris is physically unrealistic? Well, in this video, I want to show you how I added some much needed realism to the game by making it obey the laws of physics, more or less. And it made the game impossibly hard. This is Soft Body Tetris. The individual cubes are rigid bodies, but the cubes are connected together by springy joints that make the pieces as a whole behave as soft bodies. Instead of jerky movement and rotation, the pieces fall and rotate smoothly. Soft Body Tetris is a server-side fabric mod that I wrote. It uses the same JBullet physics engine as my last video, Angry Birds in Minecraft. Since the mod is purely server-side, vanilla clients can connect and play, and in fact, I used a vanilla client to record this video. The project started with a simple experiment. I used 6 degree of freedom joints to connect cubes to each other to form the pieces. The pieces held together just fine, but hilariously, the cubes could rotate freely. Get it? T-spin? Once I locked the rotation of the joints, the pieces behaved more like I wanted, and though there was still a bit of elastic flexibility, the pieces were mostly rigid. Once I had the pieces working, the next step was to get them to fit into a 2-dimensional game board. My first attempt was not great. The second attempt was even worse. Once I figured out the sign error, I could spawn random pieces and they'd fall correctly, constrained to 2-dimensional movement by some invisible wall planes, and I could control them by moving the player camera back and forth. When the game stacked high enough, it ended by severing all the joints between cubes and removing all of the invisible walls, allowing the cubes to spill out in a really satisfying way. When the piece came to a stop vertically, the next piece would spawn. Next, I added the ability to rotate the pieces by left and right clicking. The more you clicked, the faster the piece spun, and clicking the opposite direction would remove all spin. You could also look at the piece and then look down to make the piece drop. Dropping gave the piece actual downward velocity, so dropping the piece into a pile of other pieces could really cause a splash. Spinning the piece up like a saw blade could also cause quite a bit of commotion. Next, I gave the pieces some color, added a glow effect to the current piece, and I added a backdrop to help visualize the size of the play area. I added line clears with some naive logic that checked individual horizontal lines to see if a certain portion of the line was intersecting blocks. This line clear algorithm was way too generous, and it made it almost impossible not to clear lines as the pieces fell into place. It also caused a lot of line clears that didn't really feel like Tetris line clears. So I made a more strict line clear detection algorithm that required the blocks to be much more in line with each other. This algorithm still had a little bit of flexibility, which was very necessary since the pieces weren't constrained to a grid like in the original game, but pretty much every line clear felt like a real Tetris line clear. And with that, the game was complete, and it was very hard. As long as you can keep the pieces aligned to the grid, it's not too bad. The problem is, that's really hard to actually do. If you leave yourself too little space, it can be almost impossible to fit a piece between other pieces, and you end up with a tilted piece. And one tilted piece can make it really hard to recover. Occasionally, you can slam it into place by dropping another piece really hard or swinging it side to side really fast, but that's pretty hit or miss, and it usually causes other pieces to become tilted. I streamed on Twitch my attempts to get a single Tetris. A Tetris is defined as clearing 4 lines with a single long piece. It took me an hour and a half to get one. Along the way, I learned just how precise you have to be to give yourself the tolerances required to fit a line piece into a Tetris well. Before I was able to get an actual Tetris, this happened. Alright, this is really silly what I'm doing right now, but it might work. No! The T was next too. That was so dumb. I got a line. Probably get a couple more lines, yeah. Look at all these lines. Ah, and another line? That's 4 lines! That's 4 lines off one piece. 5 lines off one piece. You don't see that every day in Tetris. I eventually realized that the best way to build up towards a Tetris is to keep from making any bowls, and instead build so your stack is monotonically slanted. Finally, I was able to get a Tetris. Okay. Alright, we're in business. Okay, I don't want to jeopardize this. Okay, this is maybe stupid, but I just need a... Okay. Yes! Yes! Yes, it's a Tetris! I got a Tetris! Like my Angry Birds mod, I'm not releasing this code publicly just yet. I want to explore whether there might be a market for my code on a public Minecraft server. That's about it. Thanks for watching.